All right, Shalom. Of course, I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I'm just back for another, possibly short live stream. We'll see. I haven't done one in a little while. But I wanted to open with talking about, a couple subjects. Basically like some world news that's been going on. So of course, one of the main stories recently was at Joel Osteen's church right this past Sunday. There's actually a transformer who ran in there, and attempted to, cause a attack in the church, right? I got to use code language on what I'm saying, so for the sake of the video on this platform, but and it's all over the news, right? You can look it up and read the whole story yourself. This dude who underwent a surgery to change himself into a woman. He took his child with him into the church, and started to attack the church, right? They ended up getting killed. His son got injured as well, and another person got shot, but he survived. But that just happened this last Sunday at Joel Olstein's church. Well, Lakewood, right? I believe the church is called Lakewood over in Houston, Texas. And Houston, that's where Mina Shareg used to live. Hell, speaking of him, we haven't seen that brother gotta be at least a year and a half now, since we've seen him last. We told him, it's like, hey man, you're taking stuff too seriously. Like seriously, this guy, quit his quit his job. He lived off of his savings for like a year and a half. And then when he ran out of money, he refused to go get a job again. So he literally sold all of his possessions, right? He threw away his college degrees and all of his great achievements from school and all that. He threw all them in the trash, like literally on video, so we could all see it. And he lost his apartment, right? Literally sold all his furniture. The dude was sitting there, sleeping on the damn yoga mat and a towel as a blanket, right? I mean, shit, and literally sold all his furniture. And now nobody knows where the hell he's at now. So that's a tragedy tales inside joke. Shout out to anybody that knows what I'm referring to. Right, that's a tragedy tale right there, man. Hey, we told the guy, it's like, hey, man, you know, you should, of course, be concerned about, Christ coming back soon, of course, but, I think you're taking things a little bit too much, man. I think you're going a little bit too far by literally, being homeless now, and quitting your job and, you know, um, not taking care of yourself. I mean, it's like, damn, man, you need to chill out with that, man. It's like, seriously, and again, it's sad, because me, Jay, LOP, a few other people, Galapagos, we try to tell the guys like, hey, man, sure, Christ's gonna come back soon, as the signs show, but in the meantime, it doesn't mean that you should just be homeless and living in the Airbnbs every night. Doesn't mean that, man. So that's just a sad tale right there. Try to tell the guy because what he went off on, right, his big mistake. And how's it going, Jamie? How's it going? I see you in the chat there. But his whole thing, right, minus Shrek, he was teaching that Christ was going to return before the Great Tribulation, right? So rapture would happen before the Great Tribulation, and he said that the rapture would happen by January 1st. I want to say 2022, right? January 1st, 2022. And when that didn't happen, he gave it a couple months and said if it don't happen by like March sometime, then I'm gonna leave YouTube entirely. And the dude's been gone almost 2 years, right? The only person he kept in contact with was uh was this guy Galapagos, and he barely even talks to him. So that's sad right there. That's sad. But anyway, I digress. Just it came to mind because I mentioned Houston, right? And that's where he lived. It was down in Houston, so that's why that came to my mind. Um, other world news, of course, with the Super Bowl, um, a situation just happened yesterday. Um, there was a rally for the team that won, and ended up being an incident there. I believe like 22 people got shot at that incident. Got to try to use code language here, but read between what I'm saying. Um, 22 people got shot, one person died. Some people are in unstable condition, but they could survive. But that just happened yesterday. So again, it seems like every single day, there's events taking place all over the world, right? All over the world, there's a bunch of shit going on, whether it be, earthquakes, uproars of the people, wars going on, pestilences going on. And don't forget, right? Don't forget this, that over the past 4 years now, there's still a virus going around. Again, I got to use coder language here, but you know what I'm talking about. The Which that's ironic because they literally have a beer next to me that has the exact same name as the sickness. Ironically enough. Um, oh, and here's a fun fact for you, right? That particular beer company, they weren't doing good in business back in 2020, right? Since the whole Corolla, quote unquote, the Corolla thing when it got started, right? The beer company that has that name, people weren't buying the product because of the name. It's true. You can look that up. Um, but yeah, man, there's a lot of shit that's going on in the world right now. So definitely got to be, watching the signs of what's taking place. That's what Christ told the apostles. All you got to do is read Mark 13, Luke 21, Matthew 24. The apostles asked Christ, for a couple signs that would take place in the world that would lead up to his second return to the earth, right? And he gave them a certain amount of things to be skeptical about and look out for, right? He told them to be skeptical about people calling themselves to be, Christ on earth. And we have hundreds of examples of that. Matter of fact, I was just watching a video a few days ago. I believe this guy's channel is called Brew Bisky or something like that. You can look him up. And he basically like does travel vlogs where he travels around the world to, all the countries on earth and does, he tries their food and, interacts with the population there to see how life is like in those countries. I watched some of his videos, but the reason I'm bringing him up is a few days ago they uploaded a video on his page where there was this dude there was this black guy who the locals of this town believe is Jesus in the flesh, right? This guy literally has a million plus followers on social media, right? This dude that claims that he's Jesus in the flesh. And literally they have an entire town there that believes that this man is Jesus. Like there was a scene in the video where they took this guy to the local market where hundreds of people were shopping. Hell, maybe even a few thousand people throughout it. And there was at least 200 people that gathered around this guy, praising him, asking him to heal their sicknesses, and asking him for blessings. And then he also had his apostles with him, right? He had like 8 apostles that went with him. It's crazy. It's crazy, but these people there really believe that's Jesus Christ in the flesh, right, in the 21st century, right? His personal apostles are convinced that that's Jesus Christ. Hey, we don't got to pray to Jesus anymore because he is right here with us right now, right? He's here in the world with us right now today. That's what one of them was like. So again, that's a good example, right, of people that are claiming that they're something special, right? Claiming that they're the Christ. Christ in the Bible said, don't believe them, right? Don't believe them when they tell you that he's, in the secret places. right? Secret chambers, don't believe him if they tell you he's in the desert. Don't believe him if they tell you those things. Because a lot of people are going to fall for things like that. Believe it or not, people believe that Christ is walking the scene right now today, and they'll actually follow people who teach that they're Jesus. And this guy's a good example. The guy literally has a million plus followers around the world who believe that he was Christ. Oh, and it was funny as well. There's a scene in the video where there was like some scoffers, right? Like, you know how Christ back then, he had the Pharisees that, wanted to put him to death, people that said that he was a fake Christ. But there was a scene in the video where Brew Binsky talked to some of the people that were skeptical, right? And some of the haters. There was guys saying, we want to crucify this man, right? We want him to be put to death, is what some people were saying. And other people were like, nah, he's not the Christ. And then the Jesus, right? The guy that confesses to be Jesus, he was like, hey, the hate is good because it shows that I really am the real deal, right? The fact that they don't want me, around, right? It shows that I am the real deal. So I just had to mention that. It was just so funny when I watched that because it's like my real question I have, right, is literally in the world today, around the world, there are 100,000 plus people, maybe even a couple 100,000 around the world who believe that they're Jesus Christ in the flesh, right? That they believe that they are Christ in his second coming in the modern time. Like literally, there's at least 100,000, if not multiple hundreds of thousands, around the world of false Christ. So my question is, well, what if you get 10 of these people in the same room together? It's like, okay, so how do you guys know what one of you is the real Christ or not? If you all claim that you're the one and only Jesus in the flesh, well, how the hell are you going to be able to prove that? Because why the hell, just for hypothetical argument, right? Like, why the hell would I believe this one guy that he's Christ, but yet this other guy over here also claims to be the same? It's like, well, who among you do I believe? For, a random person asking themselves, what one of them is the real Christ, which obviously the answer is none of them are, because the Bible clearly explains how Christ is coming back. Right? Matthew 24 says that as lightning shines to the east from the west, so will also the coming of the man be. The coming of the Son of Man be, excuse me. Right. So it's going to be something that happens in the skies above our heads, right? It's not going to be, he's not going to be born of a woman, and grow up and then begin his ministry. So again, it's astonishing to me how gullible some people are out there, right? Who will literally believe that this man or these multiple different people are Jesus Christ. But yet, if they actually read their Bible, they literally see where it speaks about Christ returning for a second time. And when he returns, he's going to have dominion over all the nations of the world, and they're all going to be obedient unto him. So, how the hell do we see that today with these scumbags calling themselves Jesus in the flesh? It's like, what good are they doing? Sitting on their ass all day, claiming that they can perform miracles and shit like that. It's like, what good for the world are they doing? You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. But these are, the scum that's out here. That's what's out here, man. Let's see. Instacart. Hey, what's up, man? Long time no see. He said, Shalom to the legend of Maya Shrek. Um, it's the Checo said, poor kid, he probably went back to being a Hindu. Hell, that could be so, man. That could be so. Because he said that his parents were Hindu, right? I remember one time we were talking and he said that, you know, his parents, when they're Hindus, they consider Jesus to be among one of their 300 gods. So like one of the reasons he had to, leave the Hindu religion was because because when you read the Bible, you're not allowed to serve other gods alongside the Most High and the Son, right? The Bible says you're not allowed to worship any type of idols. So how Hindus, that have certain idols set up, like multiple different gods that they believe in, right? Like they might believe. And again, I'm not an expert on, Hindu, religion or anything like that, but you know, I've seen, documentaries and videos, about Hinduism before, so they have like multiple deities that they believe in, some of them might be, gods over certain type of, you know, um, things of the nature, right? But Minus Reg was like, they consider Christ to be one of their gods, but he's among one of the 300 plus gods that they worship, right? Because they believe that there's multiple different deities that they consider to be gods. But that doesn't line up with the book, though. That doesn't line up with the Bible. You're not allowed to have other deities that you worship. You're not allowed to have idols, right? You're not supposed to have statue figurines of other religious gods in your household. That's going on. You're not supposed to have that. And matter of fact, why Hinduism came up, it reminded me I have a friend of mine who I've known this guy since he was like 12 years old, right? The guy's like 18 now. So we've been friends for probably, a whole number of years. You can do the math. We've been friends for years. But I, used to go to church with them, because they were Christians, right? His family was Christians and they lived very close to where we were at, right? So I'd hang out with them sometimes. And it turns out recently, because I haven't seen them in a while, but it turns out that the dude is now a Hindu, right? He left Christianity because he was a Catholic. Um, but he left Christianity and now he considers himself to be a Hindu, right? Well, at first he was an atheist, right? He didn't believe in any type of gods after he came out of Christianity, right? So to say it correctly, he was a Catholic and then he became an atheist for probably a couple months, and then he became a Hindu, right? The Hindu religion is now what he believes in. Um, and I'm still friends with the guy. I still talk to him, but I definitely say he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to, religion and stuff like that. But I just wanted to give that little story, right? That some people out here, they'll confess to be, Christians, but then here it is, if you leave them 5 years and you come back and visit them 5 years later and, check how they're doing and what they believe now, turns out now they believe, you know, completely different than what they believed in the last time you knew them, the last time you talked to them. Like say for instance, right? I don't know where TVC Mario is now, right? I used to watch him years ago, which he goes off, but I used to watch some of his videos. TVC Mario, right? Vigilant Christian Mario was the most popular Christian YouTuber ever, right? Literally had 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm talking like back in was it back in like 2016, like 2015, 2016? TVC Mario used to be like the most popular Christian YouTuber. But then what he did is, he decided to leave YouTube, so he gave his channel to it's now called, if you want to look it up, it's called Warriors for Christ, right? That's the name of the channel, Warriors for Christ, which that used to be the Loving Christians channel. Or bear with me for a second, I think I said that wrong. Oh, excuse me, the Vigilant Christian. Excuse me, I got it wrong. That used to be the Vigilant Christian Mario's YouTube channel, but then he gifted it to another Christian group who was going to use it when Mario left, right? So that's what the channel is now called today, Warriors for Christ. And here's a fun fact actually. The dude who runs that channel, he actually joined one of my live streams like about 2 years ago because one of the cats, what's this guy, EJ Love, right? EJ Love from Atlanta. He joined one of my streams. We were having a conversation with him. So and this dude from Warriors for Christ, I don't know the guy's name, but the dude that runs the whole channel, he decided to hop on my stream because somebody shared it to him because he had beef with EJ and he saw EJ was on there. So they hopped on and they were going back and forth for like probably about 2.5, 3 hours, or something like that. But that's interesting. And I have a friend of mine, right, Rock upon him. he actually knew TVC Mario, right? There's videos online where they actually have had conversations before. Like I'm talking like back in 2016, right, 2015. They've had a couple of chats they've done together. Which Rock Upon him, he goes off, right? Rock Upon him goes off. I don't even know where the hell that guy is at today, man. Um, because I try to call his phone number, he don't answer. I try to message him on the app, and it literally takes a dude like what, like 6 months to reply with like okay or good or something like that. And then you won't hear from the guy for another year. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I don't know what the hell he's doing now. I don't know what he's doing now. He's probably still a Christian, but besides that, I'm not sure. Which, hey, look, Rock Upon him, he's a cool guy, right? He's pretty cool. But when it comes down to the Bible, he doesn't really know shit about that, right? He's basically like a surface level Christian is what he is. All he basically knows is John 3:16, Galatians 3:28, um, among a couple other, elementary verses, right? That's all that he knows. He's not very knowledgeable. He's not a very knowledgeable person. But I was buddies with him for multiple years. Back when we were younger, I used to actually play games with him. When we had our free time, outside of YouTube. So again, even though I disagree with him when it comes to, theology or understanding of this text, I do consider him to be a good friend of mine. That I've known for many years. Same thing with Ridge Napper. I've known Ridge Napper for 7 years. Right? I've known Ridge Napper for over 7 years now. He goes off on certain things. He's knowledgeable about some topics, but he still goes off on other things. But I still consider him to be a good friend of mine. So um, basically, what I'm saying is, a lot of people who claim to be very knowledgeable about a lot of things, tend not to be. Like if you ever saw the debate that me and Rock Eponum did back when I was in Florida, right? We met up, um, and had a conversation. It was about 50 minutes, a good conversation. I enjoyed the conversation. But he clearly lost the conversation, right? He clearly was in way over his head with that. Like the guy literally like don't know any verses off the top of the head. It's like, damn, man, that's maybe you should spend a little more time, studying, man. You got to be able to at least quote some precepts off of the top of the mind, man. Um, this one guy, hey, what's up? Yo, this one guy, did you get to see the conversation that me and Jill did? Because I know I sent you the video when you were doing your live stream because you like to review the content. I don't know if you got to see the conversation between me and Jill. We talked about everything from like the Trinity doctrine. We talked about that. We talked about what is it, free grace salvation versus work salvation. We talked about that. We talked about, oh, of course, Romans the 13th chapter, right? Romans chapter 13, which he got butchered on that one. I mean, all Jill really is a simple ass Christian. That's what Jill is. If you want to look his YouTube channel up, it's called Rebuke and Reprove is the name of his YouTube channel. That guy, he basically is a big ass kid, is what Jill is. And I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just, pointing out the facts, right? I'm just keeping it real with the people. That guy's really just a big ass kid. Who'll, sound smart to the unlearned, right? He'll sound intelligent to one who's unlearned and unstudied in the topic of discussion. But for somebody that knows their shit, they can see right through this dude. Dude's about as clear as a plastic, Ziploc bag. Inside joke. I mean, there's nothing deep about this individual. Excuse me. You know, one thing I want to mention, when we had the conversation about Romans 13, right? You know, Jill was basically saying, hey, look, you know, his position is obey whatever the laws of the land are, except when they go against the Bible. So then I asked him, it's like, okay, can you show me in the Bible where it says obey the law of the land until it goes against the laws in the Bible? And he can't say it. He can't show it. He cannot say it and he can't say it. Hey, he can't say it and he can't show it, excuse me. You know, so then I ask him again, it's like, okay, if you're gonna tell me that Romans 13 means to obey the laws of the land, unless it goes against the Bible, well show me where the Bible says you can disobey it when it goes against the Bible. You can't show that. You can't show where it says that. Because my position, of course, is when you deal with the whole chapter in context, which verse 4 is the dead giveaway. I mean, that's the bombshell right there. It literally says, verse 4 says, for he is the minister of God to you for good. Couple of things there. Minister, wait a second. The government, that's not a minister. Corrupt politicians, those are ministers to you? I mean, for a guy that makes himself look intelligent by knowing the meaning of words, now you look like a dumbass. You know, a minister is a person that has authority over a church congregation, right? That's what a minister is. Say, for instance, a church pastor can be considered to be a minister, right? A minister for God, right? A minister to a congregation of believers. That's not the government. You got to be a dummy to believe that. I mean, seriously. And then it says, the verse also says that he's the minister of God to you for the good. Wait a second, a minister to us for good. So you mean to tell me, Jill, you mean to tell me that the corrupt politicians in the US government, they're there for your good? They're there for good? And then the dumbass had to admit, well, yeah, you know, sure, sometimes government does bad things. Sometimes the minister of God does evil things. But, you know, just skip over that part because by and large, they do good things. That was basically what he was telling me, right? That's in a nutshell, that's what Jill was saying, right? Is well, yeah, you know, sometimes they do bad things, but you know, overall, they're there for good. You know, and I just had a good laugh at that. I was like, you know, seriously, man. I mean, this is like, you know, such a, you know, the dude's dodging and weaving, you know, his way around Romans 13. Because when you deal with it in context, it's not talking about obeying the government in the land that you're living in. That's not what it's talking about. In context, that's not what it's talking about. Now, again, you could cherry pick certain verses and try to form an argument, but can't you do that with anything in the Bible? Like, say for an instance, somebody could pick one verse out of the Old Testament where it says that what could I use? Say for instance, if we read about where the Israelites were in a war and they killed some of the people from the nation that they were in war against. So then they say, well, see, the Bible only promotes nothing but violence. This verse proves it. It's like, dummy, you do realize that why it is true the Bible has violence in it also has um, love in it too. So you can't just isolate one thing and say, well, that's the end all be all. And that's exactly what Jill is doing. He's isolating one or two verses and trying to say, well, that's the end all be all. You know, he won't take any criticism on it, you know, when he's clearly in the wrong. You know, and what he also told me was, so what I asked him was, and again, I was cutting his ass to shreds. You know, I was cutting this guy, metaphorically speaking, I was cutting this guy 6 ways to Sunday, right? You know, he's getting real, hell, I can't even say that on here. But anyway, I digress. Um, so I asked him, this was my kill shot to him, right? Because I wanted to show him how stupid his argument was. So I asked him if he knew about the story of Anne Frank. You'll see where I'm going with this. So Anne Frank, you know, she and again, you can pause the video and look her up on Wikipedia if you want to learn the whole story behind Anne Frank, right? But anyway, Anne Frank and her family, they were hidden away at like the top attic of this house from the Germans, quote unquote. You know what I'm talking about. World War II here. Got to use code language for YouTube though, because this is an anti-freedom of speech platform. But the Germans in World War II, right? They were hunting down certain people who had a certain religious belief. Read between the lines, and Anne Frank and her family were hidden away from the Germans. But then, eventually, they found out about where they were, and they captured them and executed them. But the whole moral of why I'm bringing this up is I asked Jill, okay, so Jill, now that you're familiar with the story of Anne Frank, would you tell me that the people who gave away the location of where Anne Frank and her family were hiding, um, or let me rephrase myself. Let me rephrase myself. What I asked them, this is exactly what I asked them. So would you tell me that the person who allowed Anne Frank and her family to hide away in their attic away from the Germans when it was illegal to have, that religious belief back then, right? They were hunting down people who had that particular belief. So would you say that they were going against God by hiding Anne Frank from the Germans? And he was like, yes, they are going against the will of God by hiding Anne Frank and her family away from the Germans. It's like, wait, what? I mean, come on, that's just, I mean, seriously, man, you gotta reconsider what you're saying, man. I mean, that's just retarded. It makes no sense. But anyway, um, let me see. Bear with me a second. Let me see this. Ironically enough, Jill shows up in the comments there when I was talking about. But anyway, um, shit. What else can I go off about? Oh yeah, I wanted to comment on this. I was watching Deacon Sakari the other night. I was watching one of his videos. I believe it was the We Want Smoke, and there was a dude that called into the show, and he was asking Deacon a question about like the cross necklaces, right? That he was asking Deacon if it's wrong for a Christian to have like a cross necklace or to have like a small wooden cross on the wall, in like the room or something. And Deacon was like, well, yeah, it is wrong. It is wrong to have the symbol of the cross, as a necklace or to hang on the wall. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, really? Well, first of all, why is that wrong? It's not like the Christians worshiping that. It's just a reminder. When you see that, it's supposed to remind you of what Christ did on the cross for you and for me and when he went up upon it. That's what the symbol of the cross represents. When you see it, you're supposed to be reminded of what he did for you. Same reason why people, um, practice, well, for one, to practice the Passover, right? And communion, right? People do communion just how Christ and the apostles did it. And why do they people today do it? As the remembrance of what Christ and the apostles did, right? Why do people have menorahs in their houses? Well, because it has to do with story in the scriptures, right? So same thing with the cross. If you have a small cross on the wall or a cross necklace, that's not inherently bad. Now, somebody was worshiping a wooden cross. Now, sure, you can now call that idolatry, sure, but to have one on the wall or one on a necklace, that's certainly not the same thing. And if they say it is, well, I got a question. Well, what about the Star of David, so-called Star of David? Because it really represents a lily flower or a pomegranate, like the inside of a pomegranate fruit. If you read First Kings chapter 7, verse 18 to verse 19, right? It explains that. But people today call it the Star of David, which again, I say so called because it's not factually correct in the Bible, because the Bible says in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 13, verse 2, it says the stars are circles, right? It says the circles of the star. So stars are circles, according to the Bible, right? Like energy, like balls of light, basically. And if you zoom in on these planets with a good telescope or whatever, you'll be able to see, and that's what they are. They're basically look like, a ball of like burning gas, up in the sky. That's what the planets and stars look like if you were to zoom in on it. So the Bible got that right. But again, going back to the so-called Star of David, now that we know what it is according to the Bible, does that mean it's wrong if somebody has one as a necklace? Because let's face the fact, it looks very similar to a satanic pentagram. But does that mean that that's what it is? No, it doesn't mean that's what it is. It doesn't mean it's a pentagram just because it looks similar to it. Even though some people try to argue and say that's, a satanic image because, well, the pentagram looks like that. But it's like, dummy, you do realize other things look like that image too, right? A lot of people are just ignorant. So Deacon, I'm gonna do a whole video, coming up soon about this. I think it's worthy of its own personal video breakdown. In response to what Deacon was saying, because I mean, he clearly is going way off of the bullshit that he's saying. To the caller that asked him about the cross necklaces. So again, it's like they wouldn't say that it's wrong to have a Star of David necklace, right? Of course not. So why the hell would it then be wrong to have a cross necklace? I don't think they can answer that question. How could you say the one's wrong, but the other one's not? I mean, it's stupid, but these guys just don't logically think about what they're saying. They're just what's it called? NPCs, right? Non-player characters. That's basically how these guys are, man. Which actually I seen oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, Jill. I see you in the comments there. But bear with me a second. But yeah, I mean, you can't say that the cross is wrong and evil because it's in the Bible, right? Christ died on that for you and for me. So when you see it, it's supposed to remind you of that. Like, say, for instance, the cross is an image that people know around the world. That's why, say, for instance, if I was to take a cross necklace and put it on my neck and I travel anywhere in the world, I go to Ghana, I go to Haiti, go to India, go to China, go to Russia, go to Mexico, among anywhere else, the people there, they would all recognize the symbol. They'd say, oh, well, yeah, that, represents Jesus, right? That represents, Christ from the Bible. Everybody knows that that's what that represents. They're not seeing it and saying, oh, well, that person must worship that cross on their neck as an idol. It's like people don't think that when you have that. I mean, come on. It's just stupid, but people don't think for themselves. And then a whole nother part he got wrong about is he asked the guy, it's like, okay, so you do realize that this image of the cross, Constantine, he used that image, right? Like they created that image, to try to enslave people, right? Under Rome. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, dummy, you mean to tell me that you didn't know that the cross image existed before Constantine's conversion to Christianity and when they started to use it on their shields when they went to war? Because again, if you don't know the story of Constantine, what happened was, again, this is the story. When they were, I believe it was like in war, or at some point he was looking in the sky and he saw a cross appear to him in the sky, right? So he took that as a sign that that he needed to convert to Christianity, right? So Christianity then became like the main religion of the Roman Empire, right? And it happened because of Constantine. When he saw that cross, he converted to Christianity, and then they used that cross symbol on like their shields when they went out to battle against another nation, right? They would paint like a cross symbol onto their shields, right? Similar to how like the Crusaders have it, right? The red cross on their shields. If you look that up on Google, you can see what that looks like, right? Very similar. So again, you can't say, well, Constantine made up the cross image. It's like, dude, you do realize the image existed before he started using it, right? And a cut on this, it's like, well, wait, if you mean to tell me that Constantine made up the cross image to try to bring people under bondage of Christianity or something like that, it's like, well, dummy, it's like, well, how the hell did the cross appear to him beforehand, being the reason why he converted to Christianity because he took that as a sign. So how the hell could you say that he came up with the image of the cross on his own if the entire reason he converted to Christianity is because he saw a image appear to him in the sky of a cross? It's like clearly it existed before he became a Christian, right? I mean, come on. This is comical. This is just amazing. But again, some of these guys are just very ignorant, and simple-minded when it comes to their understanding of the Bible. It's astonishing. One other thing I want to mention: you have this cat going around, calls himself Locke, right? Israelite only camp killer is what his channel is called. And this dummy was going around crying that Hebrew Israelites wouldn't have a conversation with him. Oh, the Hebrew Israelites, I reach out to them. I've reached out to GMS, reached out to Zakari, Cross the Line Radio, um, everything in between, right? And none of them will contact me and set up a debate with me. None of them will talk to me. And then I contact them and say, hey, man, let's set up a conversation, right? Let's set up a conversation. We can have a friendly back and forth. And indeed, we did have a friendly back and forth, which, to be fair, I cut his ass to shreds in that debate. You can find it on my channel, right? Look up Israelite only camp killer versus Hebrew Israelite. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll find the video. So he didn't upload the video, right? Remember this, he was crying for months on there that no Hebrew Israelites would have a discussion with him about the Bible. And then me and him have literally a 2-hour debate about the Bible, a respectful, friendly debate. And he doesn't upload it on his channel. Like literally, there's not even one clip from the conversation. But yeah, here it is. The dumbass is uploading clip after clip after clip after clip from when he goes on other Christian channels that has conversations, or when other people call into Hebrew Israelite channels and have discussions. He'll take those clips and upload it to his channel. But yet here it is when he gets the opportunity to have a conversation with a Hebrew Israelite, aka myself, ETT, he doesn't upload the video, even after I literally told him, hey, you have my permission, take whatever you want from the conversation and you can upload it. I don't want anything from it. Again, I was very friendly. I gave him the permission. Here we are a year and a half later. The dude never uploaded a conversation and never uploaded even a single clip, not even a single 20-second clip from the debate. Matter of fact, he never even told his audience, like, how you have a community tab where you can share like videos or pictures with your audience and they can see them. He never even put it in the community tab that he went on my channel. So what does that show me? Putting all these variables into consideration, it clearly shows me, or this guy, Hebrew Israelite only camp killer, he got his ass cut to shreds in that debate. That's the only conclusion I can come to. The only reason he did not upload the conversation was because he knew he failed miserably in the debate. That's the only reason why he didn't upload. Because again, now, coming back into um, as of today, right, when I go on his channel, he's talked to other Israelites now, but back when I talked to him, which was like a year and a half ago, he claimed Israelites avoided him and wouldn't talk to him. But now apparently some are talking to him, right? So he'll upload videos of his conversation with different Israelites now, but yet he absolutely refuses to upload the video of the debate, the nice friendly conversation that me and him had. Like, think about that. Why would he not upload that for people to watch? Could it be, and this is my conspiracy, could it be because Locke, right, Israelite only camp killer, watched the video and realized, you know what? This guy ETT, he got me good, right? This guy actually he refuted what I'm saying in this debate. So to avoid looking stupid, I'm not going to upload the video. That's basically what he was doing. And again, prove me wrong. Anybody that disagrees with that, you got to prove me wrong because you can't. Right? As again, you can look on the guy's page. Right, not a peep came out about the conversation, and why is that? Because he acknowledges he lost in the debate. And again, you know what the most ironic part is? If you watch the conversation me and him had, literally it's like one of the most respectful conversations that you're gonna watch between a Christian and a Hebrew Israelite. To be fair, it's not as respectable as the one between Vocab Malone and Gorilla Hebrew. That's like the most respectful debate on any topic I've ever seen, but it's damn near close. Damn near close to that. Oh, another good one, which I'm watching it again. I've watched it before, but I'm watching it again. There was a debate between Gorilla Hebrew, right, from the Sakari camp, and this guy Ask Dr. Brown, right, Ask Dr. Brown, which is basically like he claims to be a Israelite, like the people over in Israel now, right? He claims that he's one of them, so he's a pretty famous person actually. You can look him up on YouTube if you don't know who he is. But he has like a big channel. I believe he has a couple 100,000 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. But he came on and Vocab was there and they did it on Berean TV YouTube channel. They had the conversation. It was a pretty good conversation, definitely worth watching a second time, which is, what I'm doing now, right? Going back and rewatching that. And, they had a conversation about, who are the real Israelites? Are the people in the land today, right? The people in Israel today, are they the real chosen people? What is it tonight? What is it, 1948? I believe it was 1948, right, when Israel was declared to be a independent sovereign nation, right? Israel was declared then to be an independent sovereign nation, right? The quote unquote real Israelites are now back in their land, apparently. So they had a debate about that, are so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans the real Israelites, or are the people in Israel today the real chosen people? So it was a decent conversation back and forth. I mean, Gorilla Hebrew, Al-Azhar, he clearly won the debate. I mean, ask Dr. Jones, or ask Dr. Brown, excuse me. He clearly was in way over his head, in that conversation. They got him good. I gotta give Sakari credit on that, right? They got him good. Right? They got him good in that conversation. Really entertaining. But hell, speaking of Israel, right? Right, speaking of Israel, I was watching the news earlier. You got to keep up with these world events. You got to keep up with what's happening in the world. I was watching, with the war that's taking place over there. It's actually, believe it or not, it's been 4 months now, right? It's been 4 months, since the war's been happening over in Gaza now. And, there's months more to come. They're not stopping anytime soon. The war over there is not stopping anytime soon. But then you got the whole conflict with, what is these guys, the Houthi rebels that are shooting rockets at the cargo ship containers that have to go through the shipping lanes over in that area. They're doing this in support for the people in Gaza, right? And they said, we're not going to stop. We are not going to stop with what we're doing, to these container ships until Israel pulls back its troops from out of Gaza. That's what they say. And even after, the U.S., they did a retaliatory strike. I believe they did three of them actually. Where they targeted certain, military, um, headquarters or equipment, over in the region that the rebels were using, to base their attacks out of. So the USA, did a counter strike on them a couple times. But they still continue, right? They're still continuing. Like even after the first two attacks, the next day they badly damaged a ship that had to be evacuated because it was unworthy to sail the sea, right? It got damaged so bad they have to abandon the ship and leave it there. And the troops on, I mean the sailors on it had to be evacuated from off of the boat. Uh, bear with me for a second here. Yeah, who's this?
It is I. Took you long enough.
Hey, what's up, Joe? Well, to be fair, man, you just appeared in the back chat now, right?
I was in the side chat earlier. I said shalom, or shall I say shalom?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Did you not hear? I responded to you there. I saw you there and I responded to you.
no, I didn't see that. Oh, maybe I got to refresh.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's
Is that?
cool. But anyway, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm surviving. I'm surviving.
Did you think I was a troll or something?
Well, whenever somebody comes up, I have to put a layer over the screen because remember, people can make a fake account of
Right.
anybody, so I have to be fair and check. Because I've seen somebody actually make a fake account of you. I want to say like last year, and they tried to join, but it was actually
Yeah,
somebody else.
Peter. That was Peter. Peter the whoremonger. He's an atheist. Yeah, he made a fake account, Jesus is Lord account. But you can tell it's fake because the symbol is different. This design is, I don't know where I got it, but it I can't find it on the internet myself. So he probably tried to search for it and found something that was very similar, but
Well,
not the same.
if he was a smart person, it shows these trolls, just have a couple brain cells. But if they were smart, what they would have done is just took a screenshot of a video that you were in, and then they could take it and zoom in and use it as the icon picture, and it will look identical to the one that you have. But apparently they're not smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, he's an atheist, so and he's a boomer, so there you go. So
Yo, do you know who the raging atheist is?
yeah, I was in his chat last night.
Oh, you were. Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember talking to that guy, I want to say like a year and a half ago, I went on his channel back when he was an atheist, right? And he was
Yeah.
asking me, certain questions about, God, this and that. And, I was shocked because then he apparently, due to his story, I watched a story about what happened to him. But then he confessed, well, you know what? I think I'm actually a theist again. I think that, based on what's happened to me in the last, week or two, now I think that this isn't just a coincidence. I think that something, greater to what I can understand is taking place here. So at least, some atheists out here, starting to come to their senses, they were wrong about this whole idea about there being a God or not being a God.
Right. Yeah, good for him. I don't know where he's at now, but I tend to look at I tend to take John's perspective because there's so many different religions, so many different concepts and ideas. John just simply separates people into two categories: those who accept Christ, um, deity, that he came in the flesh, that God came in the flesh, and those who do not. That's where I would. That's the line of demarcation that John draws. So because there's so many different religions out here, so it's really
Right.
hard to
I get what
determine.
you're saying.
You know,
Yo, you know who Nick is, right, from Signs and Wonders?
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that.
did you get to see the debate he just did with Perry Green like 4 days ago?
No, I've stopped getting notifications. I don't know why. I must have been unsubscribed for some reason, but I used to get his notifications all the time. Maybe I got to.
Yeah, you should watch that, man. It was actually a really good conversation. I wasn't on that one. I was just watching it, but it was really good. I mean, Nick got this guy good. I mean, so Perry Green actually ran at the end, like literally when questions are going to be brought out from the comment section, he was like, I gotta go." So he literally, left the whole stream, left everybody there hanging that were wanting to watch him have the conversation. And then he was still
Oh
chatting
wow,
in the comment section after he hopped off.
wow, wow.
Right, the dude's a damn coward. Oh, and I
But
just found out that his buddy, what's this dude? The Apostle, right? Apostle Tim, he apparently left his cult that he's running.
the apostle. Okay.
Yeah, Tim, right? Tim was like the second in command over on Perry Green's channel, right? His like right hand man, right? Apostle. He just left him recently, so now he doesn't. Now he's not on there anymore. He's out doing his own thing. So hopefully that guy comes to his senses and saw that Perry Green was lying to him.
What was his? I'm trying to find his channel now.
Oh, let's see.
It's called
Um,
Signs and Wonders, right? Yeah,
yeah.
I
Oh,
used to be.
yeah, yeah. Signs and Wonders is his channel, and it has like
Man,
a yellow picture of like a. I
right.
forget what the picture is, but it's a yellow icon.
There's
He has
so
like
many.
60,000 subs. About that.
Right. There's so many Signs and Wonder channels. Oh, I think this is it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
if you go to the live stream button and you scroll down, you'll see one a couple of days ago with Perry Green. Perry's image should be on the screen.
No, this isn't him. This is another sign. There's so many Signs and Wonders. He's got about 60,000 subs,
Yeah, yeah, he got
and it's a
60,000.
picture of an angel.
I believe so, yes.
This might be him. I don't know if this is him or not, but yeah, if you find his channel, put it in the side chat
Yeah,
for me.
I'm actually, ironically enough, I found his channel right now, and I'm gonna put it in the chat for you here. Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
many people have that.
I just put a comment up on the live stream here, and I put a link to his channel, so you
Oh,
can
that's it
click
there.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can click that, and then if you go to the live stream button, just a couple of days
Oh
ago,
yeah,
he did
yeah. I
Perry.
just subbed to him.
Yeah, Nick's cool. I've been on a couple of his shows before. But yeah, he got Perry really good in that debate, man. In your free time, you should definitely watch that. Definitely have some popcorn with you because it's a really good one.
Yeah, Perry the preacher.
Yeah, like one of the most recent streams within the last couple of days on there.
The great debate.
Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, yeah. The preacher.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
preacher. We.
yeah. The great debate.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the sinless perfectionist guy, right? The preacher. Yeah, I've debated that guy before.
Right, right.
The hat back. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
watching it.
That's the cat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He bolted, huh? After he rage quit, huh?
Yeah, well, basically what happened is he was actually, believe it or not, for the first hour of the conversation, he was on decent behavior because they had a moderator there to give people like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, an equal amount of time. So for the first hour, Perry was actually relatively friendly. But then once the, open dialogue happened back and forth without time interruptions, then he got angry and then he soon left when the hard questions started coming out.
Oh boy, yeah. What does the proverb or the psalmist say? The first to testify always sounds right until cross examination
Yeah,
begins.
another verse says the wicked flee when no man pursueth, right? And that's a good example of Perry Green.
Yeah, man. He goes hard though. I gotta give him his credit. He doesn't back down. He stands on his doctrine, and he's been doing so for a few years now. So
Yeah, I do got to say that about him. He is a man of his words. Like, say, for instance, he told one of my buddies, Jay, that he would send him, money and a free Bible if he did the study with him. And he actually did. He's kept
Yeah.
his word. Again, I do go hard on Perry because he clearly is teaching false, but I do got to be fair and give him credit on one thing. That if he tells you he's going to do something, believe that he will do it because um, he actually is a man of his words, even though he doesn't know what he's talking.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, I came in here because I heard you talking earlier about the Israelites, and I wanted to get your
Well,
opinion
you hear
on.
me talking about what I was speaking about was about this debate that happened between Ask Dr. Brown and Al Azhar from Sakari. Did you ever get to watch that?
I did see that.
Yeah, I thought it was a good conversation. So I'm currently going back, and in my free time, I'm going to be listening to it over again. Because I thought it was a good conversation the first time.
So was that the debate who the children of Israel are, or
Yeah,
other?
yeah, it was that one. That was the debate about who are the real children of Israel. The people over in Israel today, or blacks and Hispanics.
Can the answer be both?
Well, here's the thing. My position is there are a handful of people in Israel today that actually are true
Right.
Israelites.
That's
But
what I
again,
mean. Right.
by and large, the real Israelites are not over in Israel today. Those are mostly imposters. But sure, here or there could be a handful of real Israelites in the land, of course. And even Alazar agreed with that. But we're talking like by mass majority of the people.
Majority. Okay. So you believe the Israelites are still scattered?
Yeah, I mean, of
Yeah.
course, I hold the position. Do you believe that they're all gathered in Israel today, or what's your position on that?
I I really couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't believe that Israel is. I believe Israel is a type, and the Christian is the anti-type. So the fulfillment of that
What do you
story
mean by
is the
type?
Christian.
Do you mean like when you say type, do you mean like lifestyle or something like that?
Well, the Christian position, and not all Christians hold to this, is that Israel is a precursor to or a type of believer. So the born again believer is Israel or true Israel. So if you're talking about ethnic Israel, then we just have to do it. That's easily resolved with the DNA test, right?
Well, they touched on the DNA as well. They went back and forth on that. But
Right.
what you're
So
saying sounds similar to you ever heard of something called replacement theology?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
replacement. Yeah.
basically for the audience, it's like basically the ancient Israelites are now replaced today by the Christian church. In a nutshell, that's basically what it is. Jill, did
Right.
you say that you hold to that, or did I get you
No,
mistaken?
no, uh, not replacement theology, but that, for instance, the I would argue that the Israelites were already mixed. They weren't pure anything, so they were already mixed, and they were just taken out of Canaan, or taken out of, in Abraham's case, Ur, the Chaldeans, the land of the Chaldeans. So, um, and then you have Ruth, it's a Canaanite. So you already had a mixture of mixed multitude. The Bible says coming out of Egypt. So you already have that mixture. So I really don't play the DNA game. But if you want to, to find out who is closest to ethnic Israel as far as their DNA is concerned, then just get a DNA test. But me personally, I look at Israel as the people of God called Israel. I don't look at them as an ethnic group,
Well,
and
let me
because
let
of
me
their
ask this
ethnic,
though. Let me ask this so I know what your
yeah,
your standpoint is. So, say for instance, right, if somebody is a Canaanite or an Edomite or anything in between, and then they confess they believe on Jesus, would you then say that they become an Israelite and are no longer a part of the nation that they prior were?
right, yeah, proselyte, yeah, yeah, they're converted or proselytes. They're called. Ruth, I mentioned Ruth. I mentioned uh, Rahab. The, so Ruth was a Moabite. She was a Moabite descent. So yeah, they were accepted into, and they became Jews or Israelites. So I never looked at it because I'm reading what Scripture is saying about who an Israelite is. So I don't really hold to the ethnic Israel ideology because it never was the case.
All right, I hear what you're saying. But
Yeah,
you would say, like, say for instance, if a person was born as an Edomite, when they believe on Christ, they're no longer considered to be an Edomite.
exactly. Right. They're a new creature. Right. So that's what you see going on in the Old Testament. You had the individuals who were not considered Israel become Israel, right? And then you have in the New Testament those who are not God's people become God's people. So the common thread is God's people. You once were lost, now you're found. So he's searching for the lost sheep of Israel, not necessarily the ethnic sheep. What did Jesus say? Not all who are Israel are Israel. Or was it John? Might have been John the Baptist, or I think it was Christ. Not all who are born of Abraham are Israel. So that goes to show you that Israel is not necessarily an ethnic. There's no ethnic requirement to be Israel, right? Ruth didn't change her birth mother; she couldn't, but she did become an Israelite.
But she would still be a Moabite though biologically, right?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Ethnically, it had nothing to do with your ethnicity. Obviously, otherwise she would not have been allowed to become an Israelite. If it was only determined, if being an Israelite was only determined by your ethnicity, there would be no ethnic Moabites or Canaanites in the lineage of Christ, for instance. So,
Well, here's an interesting one for you. Hey, Ridge, if you want to hop up, you're welcome, man. There's a link on there. But here's a question: like, how does one become a Israelite? Like, what's the process that a person of any nation, going by your understanding, what do they have to do to become an Israelite?
well, God's chosen people, you in the Old Testament, to become an Israelite, you had to renounce your false deities, sort of after the pattern of Abraham, by crushing the idols. Those were his father's idols, by the way, because his father was a pagan king. So by crushing the idols, denouncing the false gods, and then you would take an oath. You would take an oath to Yahweh. It was called a suzerain oath, suzerain vassal treaty, if you will. Basically, God is the suzerain, you're the vassal, of course. And you would denounce your old gods and the old worship, and you would now worship Yahweh. So, and then that means that you are God's chosen people. Um, and that's what makes Israel God's chosen people, because they've renounced the false deities, the false gods. So the
But
same thing is
like,
true
is
today.
that so it's the same way today then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but with the question on that, right? Because back then you had people that actually had like physical idols made of silver, gold, or wood that they might have
Right.
had set up that they worshipped. But most people in today's world they don't have those type of idols. So
Mhm.
how would you like show the same thing happening today if people are not worshiping idols like how they worshiped them, say 3,000 years ago?
Doesn't matter. An idol can be anything that you put before Yahweh or the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. An idol could be your internet, the internet, right? So just because we don't carve wooden idols today doesn't mean we don't make idols of things that are not God, other than So that an idol can be a false religion. right? Like Jehovah Witness, for instance, Islam. So that can be an idol. So the the beauty of Romans 11 is that we have one covenant community symbolized by the olive tree, the cultivated olive tree. The tree symbolizes Israel, and its branches symbolize those who believe. The root is Christ, the root and the offspring of David in Revelation 22. The natural branches are represent Jews who reject Christ. The wild branches are grafted in represent Gentiles who receive Christ. So the Gentiles who receive Yahweh, Jesus is Yahweh, are grafted in to the olive tree. So not Paul said, actually, not John or Christ, not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. So here he's using the word Israel twice in the same sentence. So he can't mean the same thing by saying Israel twice in the same sentence. So there's Israel, ethnic Israel, and then there is God's people. Now, you can be an ethnic Israelite and also be Israel as well. So you can be ethnic Israel and true Israel, and you can also be Gentile and true Israel. But being a descendant of Abraham does not automatically make you Israel. It makes you ethnic Israel, sure. The DNA can prove that, right? That's a totality of the text, or a summary of what I think the text is saying regarding to this issue.
Right, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Um, so let's see. Like, let me ask this question, right? What would you say, like, how would you say that what you teach is different from, say, a Seventh-day Adventist church or any random church that I might go up to? Like, what would you say that you're teaching that is different than from what they're saying? Because let me give you a couple examples, right? You teach the Trinity, they teach the Trinity. They teach that you're saved by grace, just believing, your works are not taken into account when, salvation is brought up. They teach that as well, right? And that's what you teach. They teach that salvation is open for all mankind. You teach that as well. Um, they teach reincarnation is not in the Bible. I believe you also teach that. Um,
Reincarnation?
yeah, you
No,
teach it.
no, not reincarnation. Yeah, there are some teachers the SDA have that we don't hold to, like Sabbath keeping, um, Seventh Day Adventism. It's called. They believe in the seer status of Ellen G. White.
Yeah,
Ellen
I
G. White
used to
was a
be
false prophet.
I used to be a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, to be fair,
Right,
when I was a Seventh-day Adventist, I didn't believe in, the LNG White or any of that. I knew about it, but I didn't hold all the views that the Seventh-day Adventist Church held, but
right.
I, used to go there because that's where my, family went, so I had to go with them. But
Hmm.
then after the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I became a Hebrew Israelite by watching their content on YouTube and doing some study for myself. That's how I came out
Right.
of the Christian church. But again, the reason I'm bringing this up because it sounds like many of the things you say, maybe not all, but a lot of what you're saying seems very identical with what the Christian church teaches. So I was just asking,
What the
like
SDA
what
teaches to me.
sure, we
What
could say
SDA
that,
teaches.
but
Yeah.
so I'm saying, like, what exactly do you teach that is different from what they teach?
Well, it's what remember what a Christian cult is, and I would consider the SDA a Christian cult. What they do is they use the same language, they use similar terminology, but behind the veil they pour in a different definition. So you could say, for instance, a Jehovah Witness, they believe in the Trinity also, but when you peel back the layers, Jesus is not God, he is the archangel Michael, right? So they believe the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but they've changed the definition of who those individuals are. So they do have a Trinity, but it's not one that corresponds to what the Christians believe about that triune God. So you have the same thing with SDA, and you have other things that they add on on unbiblical doctrines like the investigative judgment. I know you know what that is as a former SDA, so I don't have to explain that. That it compromises, confuses, or outright denies justification by faith. Um, the writings, the inspiration of Ellen G. White, that also would be a sub-biblical doctrine because the Bible is clear about a false prophet and how do you determine a false prophet. So if you're SDA and you don't have those hangups, those theological hangups, then you're pretty much and you don't pour into it SDA dogma as far as these terms that we're using, like Trinity and Christ, and then you're fine, I think. So there are some SDAs who are completely within the pale of orthodoxy, but they have to reject a lot of the teachings of the SDA. So
Right. I hear you.
yeah,
Based on which heads up, I do gotta close the stream in like 10
okay,
minutes, but
right,
because I wasn't gonna
yeah.
be on here for too long today, but yeah, I can agree that if I was to compare the Seventh Day Adventist Church, of course I agree they're going off on a lot of things, but I will say this though, I think they have a better understanding of the Bible compared to the Catholic Church. And
Mhm.
I've always said that the Seventh Day Adventist Church, even though they're going off overall, they do have a better understanding of the Bible compared to the Catholic Church and their
Oh
understanding.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, as far as doctrine is concerned, the Catholic Church is even more mixture of orthodox and heretical doctrine. They bring in a lot more. They have a whole catechism. They have an entire catechism that they keep adding to. I'm sure I'm told.
Correct.
So they're moving further and further away from sound biblical positions, and more towards doctrinal errors as they progress. So, um, and then also the SDA, they have legalism. They have a lot of legalistic types of teachings like Sabbath keeping. Um, and instead of justified by grace alone through faith alone, as Ephesians 2 teaches. So yeah, there's a mixture going on. So that's why it gets confusing because there's a muddy mixture going on. But I do got to step out myself. So I do want to I appreciate you having me on
Yeah,
with
that's
this
cool,
chat.
Jill.
Okay.
It's good having you on for a few minutes, man.
All right. Next
But
time
yeah,
you're live.
check out that video, man, that with Harry in it. That's really good.
Yeah, I will. I will. Next time you have an open room, like, let me, if it's after working hours, hopefully I can stay a little longer
Yeah,
and
that's
chat
cool,
with you.
man. That's cool.
Okay.
You got my personal Gmail. You can contact me at.
I
You
do.
think that I gave it last time? Okay, good.
I think I do. I'll check, but I should. Yeah.
All right, cool. If you don't see it, you can find it in my channel description. Like the part where it tells you what the channel is about. You can find it there.
Right. All right. God bless. See you.
All right, thanks for stopping by,
Take care.
man.
Bye bye.
All right, cool. Yeah, what's up, Bridge? I see you in the chat down there, man. How you doing? Um, but yeah, Jill, sometimes he can be a pain, but sometimes he can be rather friendly. If you watch earlier in the stream, I, got on him for a few minutes, for being wrong about what we were talking about before. But, again, I do have to be fair and say sometimes Jill can be a reasonable person, right? So, and again, I can say that with a lot of people, such as, say, for instance, the one brother that was in the chat actually an hour ago, this one guy, right, I've been on his show. He's rather decent. He goes off, but he's, definitely friendly, So again, he'd be a character that I'd say, decently, friendly individual, but, goes off when it comes to, doctrine and about, what the Bible actually teaches. And Joe would be one of those people too, right? He can be friendly with you, but, he definitely goes off, on certain teachings, in the Bible. But again, he's a person you can have a friendly, reasonable back and forth discussion, so I do have to give Joel respect for that. Hell, even I'll be fair and say, even with what's this cat? Even with a dude like Israelite only camp killer, or there's this other cat out there. I believe this guy's name is Jesus Crucified or something like that's the name of his channel. he's actually decently friendly to have a conversation with too, right? Certain individuals, even though they might not know much when it comes to their knowledge, it might be reasonable enough to have a conversation with, without, bickering over each other, and not even letting anybody speak. Like sometimes I'll join a random stream, right? And they'll have 9 people up there, and all you hear is a bunch of, people talking over each other, name calling, and the moderator of the channel, they're not doing nothing to calm nothing down. They're not trying to do an order conversation because people that are listening in the audience, they want to hear that confusion, because that's entertaining for them, so it gets them more clicks on the video, so yeah, let's see. I'm gonna close up in a minute. I didn't want to do too long of a stream today. If anybody made it to the end of the stream, put hashtag Ridge, right? Hashtag Ridge, because that brother's in the chat down there. Let's see. Okay. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call that the stream there. It was a decent long stream, an hour and 21 minutes. So I'm gonna say shalom.